to another episode of Gold Rush here on the JTR Podcast Network. This is Mark Rebin coming to you from the Noodles position in Champaign, Illinois, joined by my buddy Jabari Sinclair. And Bari, I'm hunting right now. There's a bug here that's driving me crazy. And I'm trying to get
Oh
to
no.
the There, we got him. PETA's going to have a field day with me, but if I didn't do it, the wife would be paranoid the rest of the day. All right, so Bari, I think we got a fun one today because this is one not unlike last time, where it's one that we've seen basically from its inception all the way up through when it was retired in favor of a different design. But that is, of course, the TNA X Division Championship. You see it right up there in the corner there. The original design from the old NWA-TNA days. And, it's not easy finding information on this belt, Bari, like as far as like the design goes. I want to say that Reggie Park's design, I couldn't find anything to corroborate it. So I'm going to just leave it up as a mystery.
Right, make her unknown.
It's probably known by people way smarter than me. But, yeah, I had no luck figuring it out. I like this belt. It's not my favorite design for this title. I think the second design is my favorite, the one from like 07 through the early 2010s. But here, look at the main plate. This always sticks out because it actually says NWA-TNA at the top instead of just being a TNA exclusive title.
Right.
Got the X on there. Now, Bari, we see a different version of this belt on a pretty regular basis in 01 USA because they have the old NWA Midwest X Division Championship, which is the exact same design of the title, but the X is gold on that one, and it says Midwest where the NWA-TNA is on there. But this one's the original. Yep. This is the one that got introduced in June of 2002. I think it was official, and it was announced on the first weekly pay-per-view that they did, and then it was actually decided in the second one, which was taped on June 19th, 2002. It aired June 26th, 2002. But real quick, going back to the design, I showed you the main plate. There's not a whole lot. There's a couple of side plates, but they have the same design on them, which is like is that CM Punk putting Jeff Terry in a chokehold there?
Right. Very basic design, but I mean, it gets the job done.
Yeah, like there's the right plate and the left plate. It's just kind of a mirrored image there. So nothing fancy, which you don't always need fancy for these belts, Bari.
Nah.
And considering when TNA started, everybody was saying they wouldn't last 4 months, and then here we are 22 years later, and they're still kicking. So
and they live. They live.
Yes, yes. A few quick facts about this one. First champion was AJ Styles. He won the four-way match, which was over. Go back up to my info. It was low-key Jerry Lynn and Psychosis in a four-way double elimination match, which I remember watching this match, and I was so confused because I didn't catch the double elimination part of it. I don't know if you've seen this match, Bari, from the second pay-per-view.
I don't recall. I may have a while ago, but if I have, it's been a while ago.
Yeah, I never watched the pay-per-views. I mean, if I wasn't living at home when I would have had more control over the television, I would have, because I mean, they were like what, $10 every week.
Like, yeah, they were.
Like that. But
and then every once in a while, they would run a special on Fox Sport on I can't remember the name of that damn sports show that Tom Arnold hosts.
I think it was. Well, the best damn sports show, period. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I watched this match on one of the AJ Styles compilation DVDs that TNA put out a few years later, and I was very confused. I thought it was a single elimination, and then I just see like say it was. I think low key got eliminated first, and he just went out to the floor, and then he came back in. Like what the hell's going on here? And yeah, so AJ got the first championship. The last person to hold this championship belt was Chris Sabin in early 2007. Most reigns goes to AJ with 6, and the longest reign was 6 months by Christopher Daniels in 2005. So
yeah, I said they had quite a few title changes.
yeah, and the funny thing is when I was going through the history like of this belt, there's in the first little while there was a lot of different faces, and then like toward the end, it was a lot of the same guys just kind of just flip flopping it back and forth.
Yeah, yeah,
Mostly the same
that's
three
true.
guys, and then but but anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's a long list, and kind of there's some names in here that a lot of people may not remember from uh, from TNA that really
I
just
sure
don't get a
didn't.
lot of yeah. But yeah, so like just for starters, here we go. There's AJ with the belt. I wanted to find an older picture when he had like the bowl cut and the like the headband, like from the early days. I couldn't find one. Uh, but this
This will
will
do.
do.
This is good enough.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, AJ holds the belt for let's see, a couple months from June 19th through August 7th. Then he loses the belt in a three-way dance between him, Jerry Lynn, and the winner, who was Low Key, who was one of my favorites. I always love watching Low Key in the ring.
Yeah, he's great. He's got the world's deepest voice.
Yeah, it's a voice that's deeper than his stature would suggest. But man, he can throw kicks though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely a striker.
His
Definitely a
attitude
guy
era.
who, if you don't right, if you don't understand, he'll make you understand.
Yeah, you could tell they always put him over as being a guy who like idolized the great Muda, and when you watch him in the ring, you can tell because he has a lot of
Yeah.
similarities to Muda in the ring, and he doesn't need the mist. Oh my goodness.
Oh
So
shoot.
Loki holds the belt for 3 weeks. I will point out he won the belt on the 8th weekly pay per view in Nashville, and then 3 weeks later at the 11th pay per view he would drop the belt to Jerry Lynn. There he is there, and
Very deserving. I mean, right. I mean, who
very
doesn't get
deserving.
mentioned enough?
Yes, one of the few guys that held
That's
the
right.
X Division and the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. How about that?
There's another guy further down the list that can say that also. Uh, Jerry won it at number 11. This is a three-way ladder match, which really it goes down as one of the greatest X Division matches of all time. If you've never seen it, uh, again, I had to watch it on the AJ Styles compilation DVD, but he only holds the belt until October. Then he vacated the title from an injury, Bari, in at the 16th pay-per-view, and they wound up having another ladder match. It was one, two, three, four, seven-way ladder match. It looks like it was Kid Cash
Jeez
against Tony
Louise.
Mamaluke, the SAT, Ace Steel, and AJ Styles, and they all lost to one of our favorites, Six Pac, in that match. So
Good
he,
old
like
six
Jerry
five.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Now Six Pac is the only guy that's held the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, and the X Division Championship, which is, you know, I don't think that can't be topped. I mean, I always put over Six Pac, X Pac, whatever you want to call him, Sean Waltman, is a guy who really kind of revolutionized the junior heavyweight style in North America in the early to late '90s.
Yeah,
Jerry Lynn was
he
a big
really
part of that
did.
also. Oh, this is bad karma, Bari. She just knocked over my Fonzie whistle. Do I need to be nervous now?
Oh, oh no.
I'm not gonna. I was making a mess. But anyway, I mean, in the late '80s, early '90s, it was Pillman. But then after that, I give a lot of credit to Waltman for kind of getting away from that big meathead club in the '90s that we were always used to seeing on top. And yeah, he had a short run here, and he only held the belt the one time, which I mean, he kind of was like a revolving door. He kind of came and went, so that's not real surprising there. But he
Right,
wound up
exactly.
losing. Yeah, he only held the belt for about 3 weeks again. October 23rd, 02, he dropped the belt on the 18th pay per view back to AJ. Oh, put AJ back up there.
Number two.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, try to count along because I mean, if anybody was the face of the X Division, was AJ, no hands down. But
I agree.
oh, excuse me. Uh, and then speaking of repeat champions, he would hold the belt until November 6th, so a little over what 2 weeks. And at number 20, he dropped the belt back to Jerry Lynn. So his picture back up there. There you go. And Jerry held it for about a month. Uh, and here's one of our first like new faces, Bari, because on the 25th pay-per-view on December 11th, Jerry Lynn lost the belt to Sonny Siaki, and this is a guy who I really feel like
Sonny
was underrated
Siaki.
in TNA. One of the Flying Elvises, if you remember the like early TNA days, along with
Yep.
I think it was Jose Estrada and Jimmy Yang before he became a redneck. Uh, I got into Sonny. I started watching TNA in about 2004 when they got on Fox Sports Net with Impact, and I was able to see it regularly. And Siaki always impressed the hub. He always looked like $1,000,000. He could move. He had charisma. He could cut a promo, and he was always kind of pigeonholed into a tag team with Apollo, if you remember him from Puerto Rico. Maybe
Yep.
dubiously best known as the guy that kicked Scott Steiner in the throat in Puerto Rico when he had to have the surgery and then couldn't fly back, so they put him on a boat because it was so risky. But yeah, I always thought that there was more for Siaki than just the X Division Championship. Because, I mean, come on, look at this guy. You know, I don't remember if he had a tryout with the WWF, WWE, but man, he seems like the kind of guy they would have jumped on.
Yeah. At least for developmental. At least give him a shot
Right.
anyhow.
If there was an NXT in 2004, 2005, I could have seen him going and
Right.
being one of the top guys.
Maybe he should have did maybe he should have did tough enough.
Yeah, maybe he tried out. You never know. All right. So in 2003, it doesn't say specifically when in 2003. The title was renamed from the NWA X Championship to the TNA X Division Championship. So then it stopped being an NWA Championship. It became just sole property of TNA separately. And on February 12th, on the 32nd pay-per-view, Siaki dropped the belt to Kid Cash. Again, so good.
Yeah, he's another good one.
I remember when he came to WWE, and I think it was in early '05 and won I almost called it the X Division belt. He won the Cruiserweight belt from Funaki, and he was using that Brainbuster as a finish, and he looked like a completely different Kid Cash. He was stacked. He had the short hair. He was ripped. And then they put him in the tag team with Jamie
Had a
Noble,
little
which
Yep. They have the pit bulls.
and I really wish they would have got more time with that. I really like that tag team when they were going. It's kind of right in
Yeah.
our wheelhouse, Bari, because they kind of had that FTR kind of like pure wrestling brawler vibe to them. But they could out wrestle you. They could fly, all that good stuff. But
Oh yeah.
there's so much about Kid
Yep.
Cash we could sing the praises of from ZCW days to TNA. I think he's still going. I don't know I think he might be working in the Tennessee area mostly these days. I can't say for sure, but I always thought he was just so good though. Uh, another new face here on the 43rd pay-per-view. Cash dropped the belt to the Amazing Red. Look at that guy.
Look at it.
And he was maybe 20 here. He was just a pup when he came to TNA. But he came in
Down
with his
West favorite
cousins, the
wrestler.
SAT. Huh?
Down West favorite wrestler.
Yes. Oh, Don West. Oh, how do we love Don West? Rest his soul.
God rest his
It's
soul.
cool seeing Red nowadays. He was one of the bookers for House of Glory Wrestling out of New York with Brian XO, and they had a nice run as a tag team. He had a match. I forget who he wrestled. He wrestled at the Collective, and I forget who he was up against, but it was a really good match. It shows how good it was. I can't remember who it was with. I watched so much wrestling that weekend. Bari hit that WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Just by the end of the weekend, my brain was pudding.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, right. Oh man, you know, I think you're about in that mode at the end after this week, Bari. But, let's see. So Red holds the belt for until May 14th, pay-per-view 45. They had a three-way match with Jerry Lynn, and this is actually an interesting one, Bari, because it was Jerry Lynn and Chris Sabin and Amazing Red. And this is a match where Sabin unified the X Division Championship with the WWA International Cruiserweight Championship. And I'm sorry, no, I'm misreading my notes. Sabin won the three-way match with Lynn and Red. Then Sabin took the belt and unified it with the WWA belt by beating Lynn, Frankie Kazarian, and Johnny Swinger. So there's some names for you. In Auckland,
Right.
New Zealand.
Wow.
But Johnny Swinger, he's still kicking around. Changed up his look a little bit. He's got a gimmick that I think I was surprised that he didn't get a run in AEW with that gimmick that he had the last couple of years.
Right,
exactly. That cartoony gimmick that he's got. But anyway, so Sabin holds the belt here for a few months until August, and he lost the belt in an Ultimate X match. I think this might have been the first Ultimate X match.
I think so too.
August 20th of 2003. Wound up dropping the belt to Michael Shane.
Michael Shane.
You guys know him as Matt Bentley from the mid 2000s. Maverick Matt, I think. I think he was martyred when he was with Serotonin. But Michael Shane's the OG version. Shawn Michaels' cousin, for those that don't know. Trained in the TWA, the Texas Wrestling Academy, with Bryan Danielson, among others. And really good. I always really enjoyed Michael Shane's work. And that was, and by the way, that Ultimate X match also featured Frankie Kazarian. So that was a three-way. Sabin won the belt back in January. So Shane had about a 5-month-long reign, which was, I think, the longest to date at that point. And Sabin got the belt back at the 79th pay-per-view on January 7th in another Ultimate X match with Michael Shane, Chris Daniels, and Low Key. So back on Sabin there. And around this time, he was also doing the World X Cup stuff with Jerry Lynn, and I think it was Jerry Lynn and Triple X were the other guys in that team.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was such a really cool concept.
Right. It was like what was Team USA, Team Canada, Team Mexico, and Team Japan?
I think it was Team UK, not Team Japan that first time.
Okay.
Yeah. And officially Team USA was actually Team NWA, they called it. So I think Mexico was like Team AAA, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this is all on the pay-per-views before I started watching the program, and there's not a lot to find, except maybe on YouTube.
Right.
Sabin had to vacate the belt to injury on March 31st, and they crowned a new champion on the same night with Frankie Kazarian beating Amazing Red to crown a new champion. Yes, I said Kazarian. Ow, ow, you have cause. Don't get stuck in my shirt. This is why we're so professional here on the JTR Podcast Network, Bari, because at least one of us always has a cat bothering us on any of our shows. And just as long as she doesn't step on the keyboard and mess things up, I'm good. Let's see. Kazarian holds the belt from March 31st to June 9th at the 101st pay-per-view, and he drops the belt back to AJ Styles. This is after AJ's parlay into the heavyweight championship division for a while. He wound up holding a couple of NWA world titles at this point, and then went back to the X division. And yeah, this is when around the time that TNA officially dropped the NWA part, and they just became TNA, even though they were still holding recognized NWA titles on the show.
Right.
Okay, this is confusing, Bari, because on July 28th at the 108th pay-per-view, AJ lost the X Division belt in another Ultimate X match, but he lost the belt to both Michael Shane and Kazarian because they grabbed the belt at the same time.
At the same time, yep.
And they were a tag team also, so they were kind of they held the title in tandem for about 3 weeks, and then it was just vacated, I guess, because they couldn't decide who was the champion, like the rightful champion. And they wound up having a gauntlet on August 11th on the 110th pay-per-view, which was won by maybe my favorite, maybe not the greatest, but I think maybe my favorite X Division champion, which is Petey Williams.
The curator of the Canadian Destroyer.
The guy that made it legit, because nobody kicked out of a Canadian Destroyer when Petey hit it.
Nope.
And he only hit it once, usually, unless it was a multi-man match.
Biggest spot in the match.
Yep. I got a buddy that watched Petey Williams' match in NWA Midwest up in Chicago. Him and D'Amore was in his corner, and actually D'Amore hit a destroyer on somebody. And this is like in 2007. They're gonna make a mess. But yeah, he hit a no hands Canadian destroyer, from what my friend told me. Which, considering it's Scott D'Amore in the mid 2000s, that's pretty friggin' impressive.
Exactly.
He was a big boy back then.
As a matter of fact. Yes, he was.
Yeah. So Petey holds the belt from August to January, and this is going to come up when we talk about our favorite matches for the championship, Bari. But two of my very favorite title matches that he had happened in this run, in that November-December period, that I'll definitely get into more when we come to that part of the show. But Petey holds it from August to January at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. Surprise, surprise, another Ultimate X match. And it's Petey Williams against Chris Sabin against AJ Styles. And AJ winds up with the belt. And, yeah, so that's, I've already lost count. That's, let me see, that is number, shoot, it doesn't say.
I think number 4.
This is the 4th time.
Yeah, it is, number 4.
Yes, number 4. Now I can read the read the graph I'm going off of here. So this is around. They were still on Fox Sports Net at this point, but they moved to the Sunday 3-hour pay-per-views instead of the weeklies, and they wound up with AJ holding the belt for a couple months, and then another Ultimate X match, but this one had a twist, Bari, at Destination X in March. It was 4 guys. It was AJ, Daniels, Elix Skipper, and Ron Killings, R-Truth, those that don't know. And it was elimination style, which I remember because basically it was a 4-way match. I'm sorry, no, it started as a tag match. It was Daniels and Killings against Skipper and Styles. The person that lost the fall got eliminated, and it became a 3-way match. And then once somebody was eliminated, which was, I think, I think Truth got eliminated from the tag match. Skipper got eliminated from the three-way, and then it came down to Styles and Daniels, got the win. And where'd my picture go? There we go. Look at that guy. And man, I don't think there was anybody outside of AJ Styles that was as smooth in the ring as Chris Daniels in those days.
I agree.
In TNA. I mean, if you see Tiffany Stratton do her double moonsault on SmackDown, remember Daniels did it first, and good Lord, he never messed it up.
No, he
didn't. It was just picture perfect.
BME.
BME, best moonsault ever. Called it for a reason. Daniels has, and like we said at the beginning, he had the longest reign in the history of this belt. At this point, he held it from March through September. And then we got to talk about the match where he lost the belt, Bari. This, not only is it considered the greatest X Division title match of all time, a lot of people say it's the greatest TNA match of all time, but Unbreakable, the three-way match with AJ and Samoa Joe.
I agree. It's the only match I have on my greatest match list. So.
I mean, man, and Joe was still pretty new to TNA when that match happened. This was in September. He debuted in June, and they were building him up undefeated. He won the, I think it was called the Super X Cup. It was a tournament to determine the number one contender. And I forget how AJ got into the match. I think it was supposed to be Styles or Daniels and Joe, by virtue of Joe winning the tournament. But I'm glad he was there. I mean, they were just. I know we're not always fans of nonstop spots and all that kind of stuff, but while there was a lot of that in this match, there was also a lot of psychology on there. There was a lot of trying to keep Joe down in this match. There was a lot of Daniels running his mouth and Joe and Styles just beating him up. You know, there's these little details that drew me. And I really enjoyed the hell out of this match, and a lot of people did. I mean, like I said, this is on just about everybody's list of the best matches in TNA history.
Yeah, it's just one of those timeless classics, and those guys could, if you put those three guys in the ring again today, they could do the same damn thing.
Yeah, I'm sure, but they probably work a little smarter though, not as many high spots. But AJ holds the belt until December. And at the Turning Point pay-per-view, I don't know if you ever saw this match, Bari, but this is the match where he lost the belt to Joe. There he is there. And Joe kicked AJ so hard in the mouth that there was literally like a hole like in his lip. It was kind of gross to look at. But they kind of tried to mess up the pretty face of AJ Styles back then when he was the baby face. Boy, if you will. But yeah,
this is years before Wendy.
Yeah, I think so. Joe won this match. Now, I don't know if you remember this. The month before at the Genesis pay-per-view, they had that like Survivor Series style X Division match, and I think it was called Elimination X. Was one of those catchy names like that, and it was Joe, Daniels, Alex Shelley, and Roderick Strong against Sabin, Sanjay Dutt, Michael Shane, and Austin Aries. It was really a fun match. But at the end of it, it came down to Joe and Daniels were the sole survivors for their team, but Daniels got the pin, and Joe beat the crap out of him because he wanted to get the pin. And gave him like this concussion. They put him out. He was out for about a month. Out for a month. But after Joe won the belt from AJ, then Daniels came back as a babyface and started their business up again. And it's just kind of went between these three guys technically from September of 2005 let me see, until about April of 2006. Like, it just kind of, it hot-potatoed between these three guys. Joe held the belt from December until March. Destination X, Daniels won the belt back in the Ultimate X match. They also had AJ in it. And then on the first Thursday Impact, Joe beat Daniels to win the belt back, which I remember watching that match live. And that's one which, for you old school Joe fans, he won that match with an Island Driver, not the Muscle Buster, which is like his over the shoulder tombstone variation. And you never see, I think that was the first time he'd ever done it, and well, not ever, but the first time in a long time he had done that move in TNA. And Joe holds it. And what's crazy is Joe's first reign with this belt, he held it for about 3 months. And then his second reign, he held it for a couple. I would have swore he held it for longer because he was so dominant. But neither one of his title reigns ended with him getting beat, which is the notable thing. They were really pushing him as that undefeated monster. Because on Impact, on, let me get the date, June 19th, wow, actually 4 years to the day from when they crowned their first champion, he lost his title in a three-way with Sanjay Dutt, and they lost it to Senshi, who, stay with me here, it's Loki again, but under the different name, after he had come back. And he had decent reign. He held it for about 4 months. Lost the title back to Chris Sabin Bound for Glory in 06. And that's notable to me, Bari, because that's the first TNA pay-per-view I paid for. That Bound for Glory. That's the one that had Sting and Jarrett for the world title. But more for me, it was LAX against Styles and Daniels in the cage. That's what I was looking forward to on that show.
Right.
That original LAX, when it was Hernandez and Homicide, and Conan was always throwing weapons in, and I think he tased Spike Dudley at one point during that run. Which I'm sure Spike was
that
all
sounds
for.
About right.
We'll talk about that match at another day if we ever talk about those NWA tag titles. But yeah, so Sabin wins it at Bound for Glory. Then hot potatoes for a couple weeks. He loses the belt on Impact 2 days later to AJ, and as part of the Fight for the Right tournament, which was supposed to determine a challenger for the world title. But this is when Sabin was starting to lean heel a little bit, and he got cocky, and AJ challenged him for the X Division belt during the tournament, and Sabin lost. So that just kind of pushed him further over the heel spectrum there. And then 2 weeks after that, on Impact, they had a three-way match, Sabin and AJ against Daniels, who won the belt there for his third time. And then Sabin won the belt back on January 14th at Final Resolution in a three-way with Daniels and Jerry Lynn. And then after he won that belt, then it got retired a few months after that. And then when he lost the belt to Jay Lethal, it was the second design. At Lockdown, or Slammiversary, not Lockdown. But yeah, so for a we'll say 4.5 year period there from 02 to 06 into early 07, it's a lot of names there, but like I said, you can see the hot potato a little bit here and there, but then they would really put some stock into it. The Unbreakable match was the first time an X Division match had ever main evented the pay-per-views, just to be noted. And yeah, then after Black Machismo won the belt from Sabin, it was the second design, and they went from there. So I don't know what happened to the belt. I don't know if Sabin still has it. I don't know if he gave it back to the company. I couldn't.
I bet Dan Lambert has it.
You know what? I'll bet you're right, because he's got just about everything. You know, I never was a fan of his character on AEW or when he was in Impact with Lashley that period. I would love to just walk through his house and look at all of his belts, just to see what he has.
Just give us a tour.
Yeah, But they could have hold one or two of them, just a little bit, pictures, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So this belt's definitely the it was the centerpiece of TNA wrestling, even though they had the NWA World Title.
It's that right, that belt and that division is what set TNA apart for a long time.
It really was, because that was the I remember when my friend first told me about TNA, because he saw the pay-per-view info on his cable box when he was thinking about getting it, and I'm like, oh, what is this? He prefaced by saying it was the NWA. I was like, oh, really? Yeah, it's NWA-TNA. I'm like, what? Because I hear the initials, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And they're like, yeah, apparently they got this thing called the X Division, where it's a bunch of guys flying around. And I'm like, I mean, like cruiserweights? And he's like, I think so, but then they've got like like all these heavyweights also going, like Siaki, as an example, was going after the X Division. He's easily a heavyweight. He was a good 230.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's when they started talking. They made the big tagline. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits. And that was like their rallying cry for the X Division. And then
yeah,
of course, then Joe wins the belt, and I'll bet some of the guys are thinking, can we maybe put a weight limit on there? Like,
come on, this isn't fair.
No. Oh shit! A couple years later, Abyss was the X Division champion. Oh my goodness! Yeah, he just tore apart poor Brian Kendrick. He took the belt from him. But anyway, so yeah, not a long legacy. It's longer than the TNT Championship legacy we talked about the last episode. But yeah, it's a lot of, like I said, there's some names you don't remember exactly, but a lot of names. If you're an indie fan from the 2000s, 2010s, this is a who's who. From Red to Styles to Daniels, Samoa Joe, obviously. So yeah, so that's what we wanted to talk about as far as the legacy goes there. Let's move on, Bari. We'll try to keep things moving, because it looks like I'm about to lose you. You had a long day.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into favorite matches here. I've got 4 on my list. And like I said, a couple of them come from the same 2-month period. One of them being AJ Styles against P.D. Williams at Victory Road, which was the first 3-hour pay-per-view that they did. And this was the match that really established P.D. as a credible champion. I mean, he was getting wins with the pile driver for months before this, but this was the biggest match to date that he had, because, like we said, AJ was the face of this division for the entire time.
Yeah, he was. No doubt.
Yeah, and PD got a clean win with a Canadian Destroyer. It's the one he did a Panama Sunrise style. I went back and watched this match last week, so he did it off the ropes into the pile driver, which at the time, again, we see this freaking move 20 times a week now. Back then it was special. And when you see him,
yeah,
number one, if you saw him do it, it was awesome. If you saw him do a variant of it, it made it stick out even more. But it's just gotten, I hate to use the word bastardized, because it could be the most effective finish in wrestling if it was used right. And
yeah.
I know we're not.
That was just a damn transitional move.
It's a high spot now. I hate when good finishes get turned into high spots, especially the DDT. But
hell, you don't see the DDT anymore. You don't see it, which is probably a good thing, right? Nobody's getting their damn neck jarred, but yeah, you don't see the DDT anymore. You definitely don't see it on the indies.
No, I always say if I was a wrestler, that'd be my finish. Just simplest finish in the world. Just drop a guy on his head.
Yes.
The next match I have is P.D. Williams against Chris Sabin from Turning Point of 04, the second pay-per-view. And I loved the build-up to this, because they actually told a story where Sabin had a counter to the Canadian Destroyer. And in the weeks before the pay-per-view, every time P.D. tried to hit him with it, he would just hit a knee and then come back up and hit him with that cradle shot finish that he did off the shoulders. So that was the thread going through that whole match was, can Petey hit the destroyer on Sabin, or was Sabin going to counter it? And it wound up the finish wasn't even the destroyer. It was just, I think Petey just hit him with a belt. You know.
Yeah.
Like, I can heal. Plus, I had to. Plus, I like the story. These guys trained together. Sabin or D'Amore was both of their trainer, so that was part of the psychology, part of the story that they worked into it. Let's see. Next one I got Styles and Daniels from Against All Odds 2005. This is the 30-minute Iron Man match. Where
that's on my list.
Yeah. Now there were two Iron Man matches in 2005 with these guys. One was this one, and then the other one was a Bound for Glory. But this was the first one where you thought Daniels had the match won, because he had him in that as the clock was ticking down. I think it was tied 1-1. I forget what the exact score was, but Daniels put the Koji clutch on Styles in the middle of the ring. If you remember, that's the one where he like grapevines his legs around the neck. It's like a Mr. Salty kind of move. It's like put himself into a pretzel. And Styles had the blood coming out of his head. They had the tight close up on there, and it looked like just as he was about to go out, the bell rang. Time ran out, and they wound up going to overtime. And then AJ pinned him and retained the title. But that was the month before Daniels won the belt in the Ultimate X match.
Mm-hmm.
And man, this was the first time that AJ defended against Daniels to date, if I'm not mistaken. And just to think, I've seen matches these guys had. They had a match in 2002 at the NWA 50th anniversary show that apparently got both of those guys noticed by Jarrett, to where he brought them into TNA. It was that good. Like, they stole that show from what I heard. I'm still trying to find this. I'm hoping to have that match on YouTube or one of these streaming services where you have like the throwback in like the indie matches. But
right.
I got to do some more digging for that. They had a really good match at the O2 TPI IWA Mid South. Not long after that NWA match, but these are two guys that I can honestly say I've never seen them have a bad match together, and they've probably done it 150 times easy. And speaking of those two guys, the other match I got, obviously, Unbreakable, the three-way match with Joe, which, I mean, we've already talked a lot about that one. Which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, that
matches,
was yeah. And neither am I, but that one right there, right, it had anytime a match can tell you a story, it's always going to be something great, and that match tells a hell of a story right there.
Yes. I keep hearing noises out my window. Bari, you said Unbreakable was the only one you had for favorite matches?
Well, I was just messing around. I have the Unbreakable three-way match. I have both of the Iron Man matches for Daniels and AJ. And then to me, at this time, at the very beginning, any of the Ultimate X matches, because it was something different, and they all were bangers to me. These first few ones, anyway.
Yeah, it kills me that the biggest heel move that the Dudleys ever did was they were in the Ultimate X match with Johnny Devine, which I chuckle because I listen to Corny talk about Devine divining himself, but it was them against Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, Chris Sabin in an Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship, and the Dudleys won by using a ladder.
Yeah.
They refused to go across the cables. They just got a ladder.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine Bubba shimmying his big ass across that?
Oh, I would imagine.
No.
He would be able to put his feet on the mat at that point. Like the thing would sag so much, he'd just walk across. But yeah, I just remember hearing TNA and Don West just losing their minds that he was disrespecting the tradition of the X Division by using a ladder. He wasn't going to go across those damn cables.
No, he was not.
I know Devon wasn't. Devon's afraid of heights.
Exactly.
But again, that was the second belt designs. So, but I want to go back because I haven't seen all those Ultimate X matches. I want to see the one with Styles, Kazarian, and Michael Shane when Shane and Kazarian both came down with the belt. Just because I just want to see. It's like I want to watch the world burn. I want to see the chaos. I want to see how TNA reacted to it.
Exactly. Right.
Yes. All right. Well, let's go on, Bari. Our top 5 champions to hold the belt. I'm going to take a wild guess we're going to have the same 5. But for me, number 1 obviously is AJ Styles. Like we said, he was the face of the division, 6-time champ. I got Daniels at number 2, Samoa Joe at 3, Chris Sabin 4, Low Ki 5.
That's the same as mine.
There you go.
Literally, right. I mean, in no particular order, but yeah, same as mine.
Yeah. If we were adding like the entire history of the title, not just the belt, I think it would be a different list because then you got to throw in a Jay Lethal in there.
Oh yeah, you got to throw in Jay Lethal, and you got to throw in Kazarian again. You got
right.
Yeah,
Shelly,
few names.
Yeah. Kurt Angle. Remember, Angle he had all the belts at once. Remember?
Yep.
All right. Well, Bari, I picked this one for this week, so I believe it is your turn to choose. So, what are we thinking for the next episode?
Let me see. Let me turn around and see. Hey, which one of these belts haven't we done yet over here? Oh. We're going to do this beauty next.
Oh, okay. So we're talking Intercontinental Championship.
What is it, like 98 to 08?
98 to, yeah. I think it might be 98 to like 2011, I think. Because Cody's the one that retired the belt when he got pulled out the white one.
Oh,
so we can we'll get some traction out of that one. That's a good belt. It took me a while to get used to that belt actually because I loved the Reggie Parks one so much.
Exactly, but, same here. But then once I got used to that oval, I was like, "Ooh, I like it." And you know what? If I ever see it, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, because especially as the oval got bigger, like when it was like the original one The Rock had, when the oval was kind of even with the strap, I didn't like it as much. But when they made the oval bigger, like around 02, like 01, 02, it really grew on me then. That's one that Dan Lambert did have, but he actually gave it back to Jericho, like on his cruise.
Oh.
A part of me thinks, why? But then it's like, come on, you kind of got to. I mean, there's many times that Jericho held that belt, then he should have it. But
he still holds the record at 8.
Yeah. I think Miz is sneaking up on him, though.
Yeah, Miz got 7.
But yeah, it's good. It's always good to have one that we actually have possession of, that we can actually use as a reference. We haven't done that in a while. Eventually, we'll do this one here, that ROH tag belt. But
that's the beauty of one too.
I got the WWE belt display stand last week. The black thing with the platform on it, and I had been racking my. I don't know. I've got a belt coming that's going to go on here, but it hasn't been delivered. So right now, I was wondering, I can't have this thing sitting here for Gold Rush and not have a belt on there of some sort. Go ahead and dig through my tote. I found this one, and so
it looks good sitting there.
I need to polish. I need to figure out the proper stuff to use to polish this thing, like what's not going to damage the finish or anything like that.
No Brasso.
No Brasso. No. Oh, I love Randy Savage, but when I heard that story, I cringed. I was like, dude, why? Why would you do this, Randy? It's not making things better. Oh, my goodness. All right, so we will discuss that title, the WWF Intercontinental. Are we going to just talk about WWF, or are we going to go through the entire history of it from 98 to 2011?
Let's see how we're feeling, and we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good. I think we can pull it off, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on. But no, that is a sweet belt, though. All right. Well, Bari, I think we have covered everything. This Tuesday on the Jumping the Rail podcast, we will be joined by the Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra, a legend from who wrestled in Puerto Rico, Florida, pretty much you name a territory, he's probably wrestled there. And he's gonna
he's been there, done that.
Stories. Yeah. Then on Wednesday, on the 01 Shootout, we'll be joined by the Lowlifes, building up to the War Games show on Saturday.
Getting ready for War Games.
Yes. And for our JTR listeners, I'm going to have hopefully an announcement coming up about our special 100th episode and what we're doing for that. So keep an ear out for that on our socials. Bari, do you have anything?
It's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be a fun time. I think we're going to get some, all of the fantasy draft crew in there. I think we're going to get some old friends in, and maybe a guest. Wait, that's what I'm working on. Because we want to get somebody good for the 100th episode.
Definitely.
So that's on our agenda right now. So we're gonna try to make that happen. And then once we get it all figured out, then I'll go on here and I'll break it down, tell you guys what's going on. But Bari, if you got nothing else, I think we are good to go. I've got an important phone call here in about 8 minutes to make, so I got to get ready for that there. Also, a cheap plug, if I may. Tomorrow I will be joining my buddy DeAndre Cherry on the 11:30 podcast tomorrow afternoon about 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, talking about some of the latest news and happenings in pro wrestling. So I'm looking forward to that. He's a great host, and I really enjoy his show. So keep an eye out for that. And other than that, I think we've covered everything. Yeah, I will. Once he's got it, because he's the guy that got me into using StreamYard, Bari.
Okay.
The first time I went on his show, he gave me the link for StreamYard, and I thought, oh, this is so easy. So then I was like, hey, I'll just start using this. So I owe DeAndre a lot in that way. So once he gets his YouTube link up, I will share it on our network, all of our Facebook pages and everything, so you can check that out. But Bari, other than that, I think we're ready to call this. Make sure you go.
You can call it.
I'm a horrible salesperson. Brainbustertees.com/.
I pay your bills, yeah.
Got pay the bills. We got 2 shirts available there. We got we call them belt shirt, the original Gold Rush T-shirt there, and of course 4mm or bust, which just cracks me up when I see that. Plus, you get all the cool merchandise from Jumping the Rail, the Shootout, as well as on ProWrestlingTees.com/JTRPod. And with that, I think we've covered everything, Bari. So why don't we go ahead and get out of here?
All right, sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks to my cat for interrupting more than once. Rest in peace, insect that I killed at the beginning of the show. And so until next time, date to be determined for this Intercontinental title episode, but it won't be too long. For Bari, this is Reb. Reminding y'all, life is hard, work stiff, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace.